Here's a strange thought. What if you had been born somewhere else? Not tomorrow, not next year. At birth, same face, same personality, same potential. But instead of growing up where you did, you opened your eyes in an American hospital. You were taken home to an American family. You went to an American school. You made American friends. You celebrated American holidays. You grew up speaking differently. You developed different habits. You experienced different opportunities. And eventually, you became an entirely different version of yourself. But here's the scary part. You might never know what you lost, because you would never have met the version of yourself that grew up somewhere else. So, what would your life actually look like? You're born, and your parents choose your name. They take you home, and that's it. Your alternate life begins. You don't know you're American. You don't know what America is. You don't know what other countries are. You simply know Mom, Dad, home. That's one of the strangest things about culture. You don't choose it. You inherit it. The language around you, the food, the jokes, the rules, the holidays, the way your parents talk to you, the things they expect from you. All of it slowly becomes your definition of normal. Your first memories might be incredibly ordinary. Playing in the living room, watching cartoons, fighting with a sibling, eating breakfast, getting told not to touch something. And then you discover something important. Your bedroom. Maybe it's small. Maybe it's enormous. Maybe it's shared with a sibling. Maybe it's yours alone. You decorate it. You put your favorite things inside. And slowly, that room becomes your tiny universe. You don't know it yet. But decades later, you'll remember that room. Then comes school. Maybe you arrive by school bus. Maybe your parents drive you. Maybe you walk. You enter the building. You don't know anyone. And somewhere in that classroom, you meet someone who could become your best friend. You don't know it yet, but that random child sitting next to you might eventually become one of the most important people in your childhood. That's how life works. The biggest moments don't always announce themselves. Sometimes they're just, "Hey, what's your name?" Years pass, and little things start shaping you. You watch certain shows. You hear certain music. You celebrate Halloween. You eat Thanksgiving dinner. You play sports. You hear adults talk about college. You learn jokes your parents don't understand. You develop opinions. You become embarrassed by your parents. You start wanting privacy. And one day, your mom knocks on your bedroom door. You yell, "What?" And suddenly, you're a teenager. This is where your alternate life starts becoming really different. You might start driving. You might get a part-time job. You might start earning your own money. You begin making decisions your parents used to make for you. What clothes do you wear? Who do you hang out with? What do you do after school? What do you want to study? Who do you like? And eventually, one question gets louder. What are you going to do with your life? And you realize something terrifying. Nobody can answer that for you. College approaches. Maybe you want to leave home. Maybe you want to stay nearby. Maybe your family can afford your dream school. Maybe they can't. Maybe you get a scholarship. Maybe you don't. Maybe you go to college. Maybe you don't. And that's the thing we forget when imagining another country. Changing where you're born doesn't magically give you a perfect life. You still have money problems, family problems, friendship problems, academic pressure, relationship problems, insecurities, bad days. You just experience them in a different environment. Now imagine you're 25. You're living somewhere in America. Maybe you have a job. Maybe you're living alone. Maybe you're married. Maybe you're still trying to figure everything out. You look at your childhood photographs. There's your old bedroom, your parents, your siblings, your school, your first bicycle, your first Halloween costume. And you suddenly wonder, what if I had been born somewhere else? What would your life have looked like? Would you have been more confident? Would you have chosen a different career? Would you have different friends? Would you speak differently? Would you have completely different dreams? And then you realize something impossible. There is no way to find out, because the other version of you never existed. Somewhere in your imagination, there's another version of you. They grew up somewhere else. Maybe they had different parents, different teachers, different friends, different childhood traditions. Maybe they became a doctor, maybe a filmmaker, maybe an athlete. Maybe they stayed close to their family. Maybe they moved across the country. Maybe they became exactly like you. Or maybe they became someone you wouldn't recognize. And that's the most fascinating part. Because we like to believe that we're completely ourselves, but so much of who we become is shaped by the world around us, the language we hear, the people we meet, the opportunities we're given, the expectations placed on us, the accidents, the lucky moments, the unlucky ones. So what if you had grown up in America instead? Maybe you would have had a different childhood, maybe a different accent, different favorite food, different friends, different memories. Maybe you'd be happier. Maybe you'd be more stressed. Maybe you'd have more opportunities. Maybe you'd have completely different problems. But here's what we can know. You would still be you. You'd still laugh at stupid jokes, still fight with your siblings, still embarrass yourself, still fall in love, still get your heart broken, still have dreams, still have bad days, still grow up. And eventually, you'd look back at your childhood and think, I wish I could go back. Not because America was perfect, not because your childhood was perfect, but because childhood is the one place we can never actually return to. And maybe somewhere out there, in a life that never happened, another version of you is looking at an old photograph too, wondering, what if I had grown up somewhere else?